Hello again. I'm running this quick little demonstration on how to do kind of like a vine-infested city. It's something that I was helping a friend out with, and I just wanted to display the Vellum solver in Houdini. And with that Vellum, we're going to get a bunch of curves, and from those curves, you can make vines that'll spawn some leaves, and hopefully we can make an overgrown city. So how the Vellum solver works, that if we look right in here, uh, basically this is the thing right here that does all the math calculations. It's going to be doing the simming, it's going to be doing the collisions, it's going to be doing everything. Uh, but we need to feed it a few things first. We need to feed it the geometry that we're simming. So this copy to points right here. All of this is just a curve, single curve spawned multiple times inside an area with a ISO offset scatter method. So that's the geometry we're going to be simming. The constraint geometry, which is basically giving it the stats that it needs, the attributes. So like if it's going to be hair, how hard does it bend? Does it stretch at all? What's the thickness of it? Uh, that's the second input. And the third input is the collision geometry. So what it's going to be colliding with. I just made a little makeshift city and ground. So that's what it's going to be colliding with. Um, so we have the three basic things it needs. Really not that difficult to set up. A lot of times for the vines, I just did a basic hair sim. So literally, if you just type Vellum, you can see it's got the configure balloon, cloth, grain, hair, soft body. I just chose the hair, slap that on. And yeah, really all we got to do now is just press play and just watch it sim down. While this is simming, I'm just going to mention that the only thing I did change was inside the Vellum solver, I changed the friction to go super high. That way we can kind of get like the sticking to the roof kind of effect. So we just let that play out for a few frames. Um, cool, something like that. So now if we look, we have all of these vines kind of dangling from the city, a few interacting with the ground, a few coming up, which is super cool. So that's pretty cool. We do have a really fine amount of points, but just that extra smoothness, we can tack on a Vellum post process node, and all it does is it just like removes the collision geometry from the scene. And if we really wanted to, we could do the smooth subdivision. So I just tacked on an extra subdivision of 2 just to give it even more points than it actually needed. So that's a very simple Vellum solver, Vellum sim. I did the same thing here also with, instead of doing these curves, I did it with grids. And it's kind of weird how this one works, because instead of doing individual strands, I simmed the entire, I'll just kind of show you what I did real quick. Copy to points, collision geometry, the constraints, click on the solver, review that. We're just gonna let that play out. It's gonna come plunk with the ground, and give it a little bit longer for the other things to hit. Cool. So the reason I thought about doing a cloth was because instead of taking individual strands going across the city, I kind of wanted to make it look like a vine, like a bunch of. I wanted to make it look like a sheet. All the vines interconnecting kind of make it look like a sheet, which is exactly what this is doing. So Vellum post process smooths it out, and then inside a for loop, each one of these sheets, I told it to get 2 random sets of groups. One with that's the end group, and one's at the start group. So literally what's going to be happening with this find shortest path is going to be connecting each one of those endpoints to each one of those start points, and it's going to be making a bunch of curves for us. Because again, all we really need is curves and points to what's going to be spawning our leaves and vines. So I did that across each of the sheets that we had. I smoothed it out with a poly spline, nothing too much. I just increased it a little bit just so it wasn't so rigid. And that's pretty much it. For the sake of speed, since this is going to be a very taxing on your computer sim with the vines and leaves, we're actually going to not work with that. We're just going to be working with these vines that we just generated here. So I made a tool. I'll probably link it in the description, the file, so you can just tack on this tool. But if we look inside, I basically have, what I did is I imported my curves, smoothed it out a little bit, and I told it which points on these curves would spawn the leaves basically. So like this is the main vine here, and I labeled it branch because it's gonna what we're gonna do is we're going to spawn a bunch of points that kind of act like branches. So if we were to look at this ad right here, it basically spawns like a bunch of small branches. It's really hard to see since it's such a massive scene, but it spawned a bunch of branches and then took all those points at the tips of the branches, oriented it a little bit, give them some orientations so that when we look at our leaf right here, this single leaf that we have, we pack that in an instance with these points, and they spawn all across the leaves. Again, super simple. It's doesn't look the best, but if we look at the amount of leaves we have, 111,000, that's a fair amount with packed geometry. Um, but yeah, that's really it. I just wanted to display the Vellum solver and how we'd be spawning things. And yeah, I'll be linking my file in the description if you guys wanted to check it out and try to mess with it on your own. But that's about it. I'll see you guys later.